Yo, what's up? It's your boy Six, and welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're talking about one of the most essential moves in all of Magic, how to control a playing card. We're going to be taking a look at a few versions of the overhand shuffle control, as well as using false cuts in order to control a card. This is the last installment of the essential video series that I've been producing, so after this I'll be going into teaching you effects that you can use utilizing all the moves that I've taught you thus far. So let's get into how to control a playing card. Alright, so let's talk about the first overhand shuffle. Now you're going to get a number of variations and different ways you can do this. It's all going to revolve around the same thing. If you currently do not know how to do an overhand shuffle, make sure you click the link floating above my thumb right now, or on this side. It's one of these sides, you know, you get the idea. Click the link that's floating above and it'll bring you to a video in which I teach the overhand shuffle, because that is the basis of all these things, so go learn that first before you dig into this. So now let's talk about the actual first shuffle that we're doing here. This is beginning with the card on top of the deck. There's variations which begins in the middle, depending on how you have the card selected. Personally, I've read a lot of work on this from Roberto Giobbi, specifically in his book Confidences, which is a fantastic little book. If you don't own this, it's good. He has a lot of little details in here as well. And he actually goes into the 7 steps of having a card selected and returned and shuffled into the pack. Basically card control, but there's 7 steps based on Arturo de Ascanio's ideas and concepts. He built these 7 ideas in which they build on top of each other. You know, the card being selected, the card being placed back, the card being randomized in the deck. All these steps. I'm not going into all those details. I'll give you the few that I found really relevant. But we're beginning with the card from the top of the deck. So a card can be selected however you like. In this case, one card is taken out. And now at this point, you'd be holding the deck in the left hand mechanics grip, and you're going to show with your right hand the selected card. Now at this point, you want to turn away, right? So my head, you can't see my head, but it's turned to the right. Because as you're performing it, your head's turned to the right the entire time. This card is now going to go on top of the pack, right? So now it is on top of the pack. And what's going to happen is you're going to go to shuffle the card, so you can talk about how I'm going to lose the card in the pack by giving it a shuffle. Now once you're in this position, this is the point that you want to turn forward, and now you're going to make eye contact with your spectator. So again, I'm peeling off half the packet as an overhand shuffle into my left hand, just like this, half the packet into the left hand. Now my head turns to face forward, and I'm going to make eye contact with the spectator, and I'm not going to break eye contact. I'm going to hold eye contact with them the entire time. What's going to happen down below here is that the top card of the right hand packet is going to be peeled onto the top of the deck, and what you're going to do simply is just in-jog it just a little bit. Now you can pull this card flush with the pack and then pull it back. I personally don't go that far. I personally just peel it back to the edge from the beginning, as if because I'm not looking, right? So I'm not making visual contact with the deck. I'm making eye contact with the spectator, so it would make sense that one card would be off. Again, they shouldn't be looking at that, but you're just peeling the card onto the pack. Now, this down-jogged or in-jogged card is going to stay there as you continue shuffling more cards on top of it. And I also, once I get through a few cards, I bring the rest of the pack back so it covers that out-jogged card, so you won't see it from above. And then the rest of the cards are going to be shuffled on top, just like this, all while maintaining eye contact with the spectator. And here's what's going to happen from the back. So now I have at the back here, I have a card sticking out. The rest of the cards are kind of covering it. It looks sloppy, which is very good. You want a messy condition in this case. So from the top, you won't really see the card out jog at the back because all these other cards are kind of in a different position as well. But all I have to do now is come under the deck with my right hand, first fingers at the front and then thumb at the back. And I'm going to pick up on that card. And all of this is done from the front like this while I'm making eye contact with the spectator. So my thumb is going to press up on the back just a little bit, just enough so I can feel it. I like to have my thumb a little bit more towards the corner because that's how I would normally shuffle anyway. So I pick up, I just lift up just enough, and then I'm going to squeeze the pack, essentially squaring the cards, but now I have a break between the selected card and the card in which I used as an in-jog. I'm still making eye contact with the spectator, so from this angle, this is what they're looking at. I'm looking at their eyes, and all I'm going to do from here is simply shuffle off all the cards from above the break, just like this. I'm pulling, and I keep going, and I'm putting a little bit of pressure here because the pressure is allowing me to feel when I get to the last card. So at some point you're going to stop feeling the pressure because I'm squeezing the top packet. I stop feeling the pressure, and now I know that this whole packet goes right on top. And when I do that, I can square up, and I can now break eye contact with the spectator because now we can look back at the deck, and the card will be controlled to the top. And that is the overhand shuffle control. Once again, just for clarity's sake, from the front, I'm eye contact with the spectator, I shuffle. Another good tip here is once you're, I'm going to go back for a second. So another good tip here is this is the card is on top, is that when I go to shuffle, I don't want to bring the deck forward so they see this. That's very bad. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the deck to their eye level, their eye contact here. It's kind of like to the camera, so the camera makes it a little bit easy for me, but I'm bringing it to their eye level as I do the shuffle. So I can be here, I bring my hands together as I do the shuffle, peel off the top card, which I then in-jog, right? But now you can see if this is eye level with the spectator, it's very hard to see if the card is in-jogged or not. You can't see the difference because of the angle of the pack. And then from here, I'm going to come back over again, shuffle off a few more cards, and now I can bring some cards back again, because it doesn't matter how many times I go forward and backward as long as the bottom card is the one I'm contacting at the end. So I can mix and match the order, but I still have a whole packet now off to the side. Shuffle off here. Now I can bring the deck forward because now everything's covered, so now it's clean and above board. And all I have to do again is press up on the back of the pack, just like this, and then shuffle off to that break. I'm putting the pressure, I feel it, I stop, and now I have the card back on top. And that is the overhand shuffle control. Picking up on that break and then doing another shuffle, I don't have to do that. I can go into a series of cuts. So it's the same idea in which the card is placed on top. We'll use the same card for clarity's sake. And I do the same shuffle just like this. And now I have a messy condition of the cards. And what's cool about this is now you can switch the cards from hand to hand as you're talking to the spectator. You're just holding and squeezing the packet, preventing the cards from sliding around. So you are putting a nice grip on it. Don't make it look like you're squeezing the pack. Just gently squeeze the pack so you know you're controlling the cards and you can keep everything above board. At this point, the card is still in the middle. I just have to get to the break. Now, as I go to square the cards, the left hand and right hand, the left hand is actually squaring them in mechanics grip. As the right hand comes over, this is providing cover, and I'm going to pull up on the backmost card. Again, you can see one card is out further than the other, but it's the lowermost card that matters. So I'm reaching under the pack and riding my thumb up until I feel that lowermost card, and then I square up, and now I have a break from here. Now, this break can then be transferred to a pinky break, and you can let go, you can square the cards up the whole time holding a pinky break. You can do whatever you like, but now I'm going to do a series of cuts. 1, 2, 3, and then drop on top. And all I did there was just cut to the break. So I had a packet, I had the break here, like this, the one as you just saw. I had it from here. I transferred it to a pinky break, so now my pinky's holding the break. I'm going to pick up a small packet from the top, all from the packet above the break. Another packet, you can do as many as you like, it doesn't really make a difference. And then finally, I'm going to pick up from all the cards above the break, picking up all those cards, dropping that, and the last packet with the spectator's card is going on top. You can do that to the table or into the spectator's hands, totally up to you. One piece of advice I want to give for this is here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to have the card on top and then say, look, I'm going to lose the card, shuffle it somewhere into the pack, and I'll give the cards a cut. You don't want to give it one single cut, because at that point, it may indicate that somehow you're only cutting to that card. So definitely don't do a single cut. Do multiple cuts because it adds a little more randomization to the process. So let's talk about how to do the overhand shuffle without an in-jog. So this is just a direct overhand shuffle from a break, and it also controls the card as well. So I'm going to begin with the 6 of spades. Let's just say that was the selected card from the middle. So a card gets selected, 6 of spades, and it gets placed back into the center. What's going to happen is now I'm going to square up all the cards, but I'm going to hold a break between these 2 packets. So now I have a pinky break at the side here. I'm going to expose it so you can see it, just like that. So now I'm holding a pinky break, and you can do whatever subtleties you would like to show that you're not holding a break. My right hand is going to come over, and my second finger is going to touch this corner, and my thumb is going to touch the back corner. This is the corners closest to the thumb, and I'm going to rotate the packet to the right. Now I'm still holding a pinky break because that's going to help me in a second, but I'm also transferring it to the back break here, so I have it in a thumb break. But what happens is when I rotate the packet, I'm keeping my pinky in there, I rotate the packet, I'm going to do this slowly so you can see it. You can now see the break between the 2 packets, and you can see the uppermost portion is now disconnected from the deck in some sense. Now all I have to do is press my thumb on top of the lowermost portion as my right hand brings the top packet out and just starts shuffling off the top, just like this, a face-up overhand shuffle, and then I can turn the deck face down, and that has controlled the card to the top. This is probably the easiest version of all the versions we've covered so far, and it's a very good one. It's very convincing. So once again, any card is going to be selected. So in this case, we get the 6 of clubs. So I'm going to take the 6 of clubs, hold the break above it, grab the back, turn it, pick up the top packet, and simply shuffle it off. And that's the way you control to the top. Roberto Giobbi gives a great tip because he says he sees a lot of people doing this. And to be honest, I haven't taught this move to millions of people. I don't know as much as Roberto Giobbi does, so make sure you listen to him. So what he says is this. He says what you don't want to do is have a card selected, in this case the 9 of spades, square it, hold the break, and then pick up all the cards above the break and then turn it face up and shuffle. And apparently people do that a lot. So in this case, again, 6 of spades, I'm going to hold the break like this, pick up the packet, and just shuffle it. That is not what you want to do. You want to do it in tandem. So what that means, you want to do it together. In this case, we have 2 of clubs. Do it together as you hold the break, square up the cards, and turn the whole deck over as one unit as you take the bottom packet once it's face up, and then shuffle these cards off on top of it. Then you turn it face down. So please be careful. I do not want to see that. I don't want to see this just pick up and then start shuffling. Avoid that at all costs if you could. But that is just another way in which you can use the overhand shuffle to control a playing card, and probably the simplest one. I highly recommend you start with this if you don't know any at all. It's all about getting into the rhythm, making sure your rhythm's down, and then that's the best part about it. It's really simple. Otherwise, you simply just go ahead and shuffle the cards. Ta-da! The next idea here is simply doing a false cut. So if you want to click to the links above with my false cut videos, you can learn all the false cuts that I've taught so far. And what's nice about it is you can use it to control a card. It's that simple. I'm not going to go into the false cuts here because that video shows you all of them, but I'm going to give you the concept here. So let's say, for instance, I have a card selected. Now, when you're going to have a card selected and you want to use the false cut method, I also recommend doing the cuts to have a card selected. So you want to randomize the procedure. And the way you do that is by giving a swing cut, and then I'll just start peeling cards off the other packet, and I'll tell the spectator, do me a favor, as I peel through the cards, at any time you like, just tell me when to stop, and that'll be your card. Say they say stop here. Give them a choice. You want this one, you want this one, you want to keep going. It's totally up to you. This increases the randomization of it. It makes the spectator feel as there's more freedom, right? Again, Roberto Giobbi talks about degrees of freedom when performing magic. Does it really feel free? Are the spectators giving the choice of what card they want, or do they feel as if they didn't have choice? So in this case, this adds 1 degree of freedom, right? So now it looks like, oh, I could say stop anywhere. But at the same time, when I stop here, I can say you want this one, you want that one, or do you want to continue going, giving them more options. The more options you give your spectator, the more free it feels when you perform. So if you're looking for anybody on reference on that, look at Dana De Ortiz and even Juan Tamariz, what they do. They're very, very free when they perform. It's all choice, up to the spectators, out of their hands. And that really feels like real magic in that case, because the spectator feels as if there's no control taking place. No one's doing anything. It was all up to them, but really you're in control the whole time. Hey there, if you're finding value in this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the tutorial. So I go through the cards just like this. The spectator says stop. And and I place it down on the table. Now there's two ways in which you can do this. One is you can show the spectator the card like this, which in this case is 6 of clubs again. Place it on top and say we'll lose the card somewhere into the pack by giving it a few cuts just like this. And it just makes it seem like you randomly lost a card in the pack, but you've really controlled it to the top because it was a false cut. That is one way in which you can apply the false cut method. Another way is by having the spectator say stop and having the card placed back into the pack mid false cut. So it looks like this. I'd swing cut the card. I'll keep his face down. I'd swing cut the pack and have the spectator place the card back just like this. Card gets back in the pack. So I say place your card back here. Thank you so much. And now at this point I turn my head away, so I look to the right and say I'm just gonna lose your card somewhere into the pack because I don't want to know where it is, so this way it's lost somewhere inside the pack. But really I just did a false cut. I continued the false cut that I started, and that brings the card to the top of the pack. So that's another way in which you can utilize the false cut method of controlling a playing card. And finally we have what is called the double undercut. Now this is one that I don't really recommend you perform. The reason why I'm including it here is because if you're a beginner, it's one of those moves that you should just know. It's essential magic, but it's at the same time, it's not the best magic, right? Just because something is essential to know for knowledge purposes doesn't mean it's the best method to date. But it is a classic and it's something you should know. And in this case, this is called the double undercut. So there's two ways in which you can do it. You can do it either completely in the hands or onto a table. So a card is selected, and then the card is going to be placed back into the pack just like this. And I'm going to take the right hand packet and I'm going to line it on top, and I'm actually squaring it up holding a break. So my pinky holds a break. So you can even do it from here. It doesn't matter which way you do it. But let's say the card is placed back, square the cards up, and now you hold the break on the packet. Now you're going to do the double undercut, and what that means is that you're going to come over with your right hand and you're going to hold the break now at the back. You're transferring the break to the back thumb. From the front, they don't see that. Now I'm going to show you from the side here. I'm going to cut off a small packet from the bottommost packet. I'm cutting half of the bottommost packet and bringing that to the top. Now I'm taking the rest of the cards from underneath and bringing that whole thing to the top, thus bringing the selection to the top of the pack. So in full speed, it looks something like this. The Queen of Spades. I square up the cards. Say, look, we'll give the cards a few cuts to randomize the order. And I take the cards out of my hands. And that controls the card to the top. If I have somebody straight ahead of me, maybe I'll use a double undercut. But it's rare that I cut the cards this way. So it is a common way for people to cut the cards. You'll see people cut the cards that way. So it's not incredibly suspicious. But I do think if you don't cut cards this way, then at all throughout any of your performance, then it kind of looks a little out of place, and you want to make sure that you keep the same rhythm. That's why I personally like to overhand shuffle, because it is the shuffle that I use the most. Unless I'm on a table, then I'll do riffle shuffles, but when I'm performing, for the most part, it's usually in a walk around setting 9 times out of 10, and I'm usually using some kind of overhand shuffle control. Now all of these controls we talked about so far have been bringing the card to the top of the pack, but sometimes you have to get it to the bottom. So if I had the card on top, in this case the 9 of diamonds, after I did my control, all I have to do is just do one more overhand shuffle in which I peel the top card off and then throw the rest of the cards directly on top of it. And this will bring the card to the bottom. With the in-jog control, what you're gonna do is this, so that the card was placed on top like this, the King of Hearts. When I peel off the whole packet like this, instead of in-jogging this card, as I come over, I'm going to kick back this card, the top card. I'm going to pull it back as this packet comes over, and I'm going to shuffle these cards off on top of it. So now when I pick up at that break, I'm actually picking up at the card because that's the in-jogged one. So when I pick up at the break, just like this, the bottommost card is going to be the selected card. So what you want to be careful of is if you're going to cut, you have to cut this whole packet and then give these multiple cuts in the cutting procedure. If you're doing it from the shuffle, it changes. So I'll bring this card back to the top, the King of Hearts. I peel it off. I come over. I'm going to kick this card back. I shuffle these off on top like this. And if I'm doing the shuffle procedure, I'm going to grab the break by pushing up. Now I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to take the whole packet off the top because the bottommost card is the selected card. Bring the whole packet off and then just simply shuffle off the bottom cards on top of the packet. And then that will bring the card to the bottom as well. With the double undercut, to control it to the bottom, all I have to do is simply change the position of the break. So I'll show the card here one last time. Now I get a break under that card and place all of these on top of the selected card. So my break is here and the card is here, and now I can simply do the double undercut and that'll bring the card to the bottom. So that's it. There you have it. Multiple ways in which you can control a playing card to the top or bottom of the deck. Again, this move is essential to great card magic, so make sure you practice frequently. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments anything you'd like to learn in the future. And as always, thank you for your support. Hope you guys like the hat, by the way. I made this myself. It's something I'm thinking about producing in the future. So if you'd like one, if you're interested in buying one, leave a comment below and I'll consider making a few of them just for you guys. So thank you all very, very much for all the support you've shown me so far. That's it for today, and I'll see you all in the next episode.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy.